Hi, I'm Debbie Stadtler, Editor-in-Chief of Provider Magazine. Today I'm here with Tiffany Karlin and Nate Sundheimer from Wipfli. Tiffany is a partner with Wipfli with over 20 years of experience in the healthcare industry, specializing in Medicare and Medicaid reimbursement systems, operational needs of post-acute providers, and healthcare reform impacts. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
And Nate is the Director of Digital and Technology Strategy within Wipfli's healthcare practice, where he guides healthcare organizations through complex digital and technology transformation journeys. I think we all need a little guidance in that area. Welcome, Nate.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Wipfli is an advisory and accounting firm helping senior living providers stay ahead of change, from financial resilience and operational strategy to workforce planning and technology transformation. Let's start with you, Tiffany. There's a lot to be concerned about regarding the present and future in senior living. Tiffany, what's the current state of senior living and what challenges are providers facing?
Quite a bit, actually. So we look at the healthcare landscape. By 2030, there's going to be significant transformation within senior living. 20% actually of the population is going to be 65 years or older, and by the time we hit 2040, the age population of 85 years and plus is projected to almost double. So what does that mean? So we've got market growth demand needs that are changing, right? The average older adult now is requesting more personalized care. We all know in our senior living communities we're faced with higher acuity. So with that, we as senior living providers need to start thinking about what is it we need to do to expand, to adapt, and to support this demographic shift. In addition to that, it's no surprise, workforce challenges or something, right? We're all grappling with where do we find the people, and are these people actually qualified candidates, and how do we solve that need? So in what we've seen is investing in workforce development and really some significant leadership training, right? Recruitment and retention strategies that may align with some technology is not just now what we would usually have been a nice to have, but really it's a must have. In Washington, D.C., we're fighting for financial stability because we as senior living providers are financially vulnerable. The costs have increased substantially. We have seen both state and now federal reimbursement that is shrinking. And what does that mean? We're now financially vulnerable. Our competition is accelerating. So providers need to start thinking about what does it look like to be operationally efficient? How do we invest now in innovation and strategies and solutions that can support that? So a lot of that really in what Wipfli is looking at is what does it mean in the technology and the AI space? How is technology the deciding factor in what providers are going to have to do in this evolving market? So implementing any type of operational efficiencies can streamline processes. And so, well, what do we all want to do? We want to make sure that our administrative processes are intact so that we can focus on resident and patient care. With this is focus on data, right? We have an ever-changing, data-driven environment that really can help improve the insights and, again, us being more operationally efficient. Technology and embracing technology really is no longer an option, right? It's no longer an option. Providers have to really start thinking about what is AI to them? What can we do with telehealth? What can we do with improving our ERP? And first and foremost, how do we plan for our overall infrastructure planning?
Nate, given the amount of noise that's out there, how can people come to think about and prepare their organization for these changes to come? In healthcare, we all know that we are constantly challenged to do more with less. And you state that technology is the great equalizer. So how do we get that started?
You're exactly right. Technology is the great equalizer. But really where that starts is with a foundational focus on data itself. Because as we want to think about AI and the new technologies that are constantly proliferating across the market, the effectiveness of those tools is only as good as the data that you have. Yes. And so it's really important to really understand that you really need to be able to crawl with data before you can walk with technology and then eventually run with AI. Everyone has their inbox inundated with 100 emails every day saying that they have the best in class solution. And while it's really exciting to want to run and gravitate towards those solutions, if you don't have a foundational data strategy and really optimizing all the different data sources within your organization, you're not going to meet the ROI that you are intending by bringing in these new technologies. And so, what this really requires as an individual, or as an organization, and as you're preparing for these new technologies and AI solutions that are coming out, it's really doing a deep audit of your data itself. So, how is your data being managed? What is being collected? What is missing? What are some real-time insights that can be gathered right now from the data that you have, but what are some real-time insights that you really need that, for whatever reason, are escaping your fingertips? The other thing too is the trust in the data. There's varying degrees depending on the stakeholder within your organization. There's different levels of confidence as far as how they are trusting that data. And then, as we are thinking about building this foundation and bringing in all these new technologies, we have to understand, which systems can be integrated, which ones are disparate, how can we connect the data sources? Because if we don't have that, then we're continuing to operate in silos, which is the last thing that we need. And so, that really brings us to, hey, how can we technologically advance our organization? How can we technologically enable our organization? What can we automate? What can we digitize? And how can we take, each of our organizations to the next level?
Wonderful. I love how you say crawl with data, walk with technology, and run with AI. I think nowadays AI is such a hot topic that people want to skip to that third step. But I love that we need the foundation, and we need the tools, and we need to then be able to run to AI. Absolutely. I love that. Well, obviously, technology, innovation, these are such critical points. Tiffany, as we look towards the future of senior living, tell us more about what we can expect.
So the second question, once you become prepared, is how do you get started? Where is that starting block? And really, Tiffany and I really think of it as more of a blueprint rather than a roadmap, because you really have to focus on the foundation and build up from there. You can't just put a roof on flat land. You actually need to, you need to build your house. And so the way that we like to work with organizations is really walking through this journey of, hey, we'll start with maybe an assessment and discovery. So, what's going on your data side? What technologies are you using? Are you fully utilizing those technologies? And then once we have an understanding, and once an organization has an understanding of where they are now, we really need to walk them through, hey, what is your long-term vision? What is your long-term strategy? How can we plan for the appropriate resources to actually enable that strategy? How do we align those different priorities? And then once that's all aligned, then we can really focus on building that data and that cybersecurity foundation. It's really important that they're done concurrently. And you really need to focus on the architecture, the governance, quality as another example. But once you're there, then you can move into, hey, let's really focus on these digital capabilities. What systems are out there? How can we integrate the systems? How can we make sure that we're selecting the right core technologies for our organization? And once you're there, then you can really expand upon those core technologies and really focus on analytics and implement more analytics work. So whether that is more focused on data enhancements, you can really move into the space of predictive models, building custom dashboards for different members of your organization. But once you have that foundation, then you're ready for AI and advanced innovation. And so once you have that understanding, then you can do these different opportunity assessments, see what's out there. There's a lot of great tools that are out there, but which one's right for you? Which one actually is bespoke for your specific organization, not just because it's the new coolest thing or the new, shiny object that's out there. And then, you look at other tools, whether it's, focused on enhanced care, staff augmentation, once again, just doing more with less via technology. But the other thing too is you can't just build a house and never touch it again. You really need to be focused on continuous improvement. So you need to make sure that you are optimizing your processes, making sure that you're actually doing some change management, because if you don't have that constant maintenance of your foundation, that's where there's going to be some cracks in the infrastructure long term, which is, it's always better to fix early rather than let it develop into a bigger problem later.
Absolutely. Now, I love with that process that there's really a level of customization and personalization that goes into an organization's individual needs. And I just love that. I think that really is what gives technology a lot of its power.
Absolutely.
Well, Tiffany, as we look towards the future of senior living, it is clear data and technology are essential. Tell us more about what we can expect as we move forward into that future.
You're right. Absolutely essential. Data, AI, and technology, they're not just tools anymore. They're an absolute catalyst for senior living organizations to transform into the future. Creating this blueprint, this unique identification of what your organization could potentially do to elevate into the next level. And with that ideal state isn't siloed. It's a combination of people, our people, right? How are they involved? What does their transformation look like because of technology? The processes that we're looking at, in addition to, again, the platforms, right? The overall platforms, and that's built into what the blueprint is that Nate was speaking about. And all of that brings together, every part of the senior living ecosystem has to work in conjunction with each other to make it all work well. The interoperability, integration, the data that is clear and precise, all of these, and the people components of our organization are key to a senior living organization thriving into the future. So we're so glad to bring this insight to our clients all the time.
Absolutely. Thriving in the future. You
Yes.
couldn't have summed it up
Yes.
better. Thank you for being with us today, Tiffany and Nate.
Yeah.
We're glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much.
And thank you.